Please subscribe my channel. The bedroom air felt suffocating that night. Thick with the fading sweetness of lavender candles and something faintly sour I couldn't quite identify. My hands shook as I stared at the wrinkled receipt I'd been gripping too tightly, its edges soft from the circles I'd been absent-mindedly tracing over the ink. Dinner for 4. Liella Vita. 8:47 p.m. The time glared back at me like an accusation, etched permanently into my thoughts. Last Friday, the exact evening Claire had told me she'd be stuck late at the gallery, finishing preparations for an upcoming exhibit. Barefoot on the cold hardwood floor, I stood frozen as the sound of running water drifted down the hall, her voice faintly humming behind the bathroom door. My chest clenched, as though someone had reached inside and squeezed the air from my lungs. She had lied. Again. On its own, the receipt could have been nothing, something easily dismissed, excused, explained away. Maybe she'd gone out with coworkers and simply forgot to mention it. Maybe it wasn't important. But it didn't feel small. Each glance, each memory of her distracted smiles, her late nights, her phone buzzing quietly with messages she angled away from my eyes. They piled onto the weight of that thin slip of paper until it felt like it might crush me. I wanted so badly to believe her. God, I ached to trust the woman I had promised my life to. But doubt had already rooted itself inside me, growing like a stubborn weed strangling everything we had nurtured for 7 years. I slid the receipt into my pocket and lowered myself onto the edge of our bed. The quilt beneath my palms was soft, familiar, a reminder of countless nights when everything between us had felt unshakable. My eyes drifted around the room. Her art books stacked haphazardly on the nightstand, my running shoes shoved half-hidden under the dresser. Our wedding photo hanging in its silver frame, smiling faces forever preserved under a sky full of stars. Looking at it now, it all seemed tainted, a portrait of a lie. The water shut off, leaving a heavy silence. My pulse thundered. I could confront her right then, demand answers, but the words caught in my throat, jagged and sharp like broken glass. What if I was wrong? Worse, what if I was right? The bathroom door opened with a soft creak. Claire emerged wrapped in a towel, auburn hair dripping damp trails over her shoulders. She smiled at me, gentle and unguarded, and for a fleeting moment I glimpsed the woman who had once been my everything. The one who painted my portrait in secret, who laughed too hard at my clumsy jokes, who cried when I knelt down to propose beneath the stars. "Ben, are you okay?" she asked softly, though her eyes carried a flicker, like she was carefully gauging the air between us. I forced a nod, my throat dry. "Yeah, just tired." The words felt bitter on my tongue. A lie to cover another lie, but I wasn't ready to face it. Not yet. Over the next week, the seed of doubt sprouted into something darker. Claire's late nights multiplied, her excuses thinner each time. "The gallery is chaos," she'd say, eyes flicking toward her phone before returning with a rehearsed sigh. I played along, nodded, pretended to believe her, but inside I had become an unwilling detective in my own marriage. Her scarf smelled faintly of perfume she hadn't worn in months. She stumbled over simple questions, pausing too long as if she were constructing stories on the spot. I hated myself for noticing, for needing proof, but I couldn't stop. One night, my hands trembling, I went through her phone while she slept. No incriminating photos, no explicit declarations. Just vague messages from someone saved as Evan. "Meet you at 7. Same place." My stomach lurched. I didn't know an Evan. She had never once spoken that name. The guilt gnawed at me, but still I followed her one evening. I trailed her car through the city, neon lights reflecting across slick pavement as rain threatened to fall. She didn't head to the gallery. She parked in front of a dim bar I had never seen her mention. My pulse hammered as she stepped out in a black dress that clung to her frame, her laughter spilling into the night as she greeted 3 men waiting at the entrance. One of them, tall and broad-shouldered, laid a hand on her lower back with a familiarity that made my vision blur. Anger, heartbreak, disbelief. All of it tangled until I could hardly breathe. I didn't go inside. I couldn't. Instead, I drove aimlessly through the city, headlights streaking across wet glass like tears I refused to shed. When Claire returned past midnight, smelling of wine and something unfamiliar, I kept my eyes shut and pretended to sleep. She touched my shoulder lightly, hesitant. and I wondered if she could feel the fracture already splintering between us. 2 weeks later, the truth, or something close to it, arrived uninvited. Claire sat me down at the kitchen table, her hands twisting together, pale against the morning light that slipped in through the blinds. "Ben," she whispered, barely audible. "I'm pregnant." For a heartbeat, joy burst through me instinctively, the echo of a dream we had shared long before suspicion had poisoned everything. But the joy was hollow, fleeting, because her eyes wouldn't meet mine. My voice broke as I repeated it back to her. "Pregnant." She nodded, reaching for me, but I pulled away. The receipt. The bar. The stranger's hand on her back. They all screamed louder than her trembling voice. "Claire," I said, forcing the words through the tightness in my chest. "Who's Evan?" Her breath faltered, her eyes widening like a trapped animal. "What?" she whispered. "Don't do this," I snapped, anger spilling through the cracks. "I saw you at that bar." "Who is he?" Silence swelled thick between us until she finally muttered, "A friend from work." The word friend curdled in my mouth. "You've been lying to me for months. And now you're pregnant, and I'm supposed to believe it's mine." Her tears welled, but they didn't sway me this time. "Ben, it is yours. I swear. I love you." I stood, the chair scraping against the floor. I deserve the truth. At last, her composure collapsed. Sobs shook her, jagged and raw. "I made a mistake," she cried. "It was one night. I was drunk, I was stupid, and I'm so sorry. But the baby is yours, I know it is." My heart begged to believe her, but my mind whispered otherwise. The math didn't add up. And behind her desperate eyes lingered a shadow of doubt, one that mirrored my own. I didn't leave right away. I convinced myself it was for the baby, that forgiveness was possible, that maybe shattered trust could be rebuilt. But every day the images replayed, the hand on her back, her laughter with him, the lies she had spun so smoothly. Quietly, I began preparing. I suggested a paternity test, disguising it as reassurance, as closure. She agreed too quickly, her eagerness sharp with desperation. The weeks of waiting were torture. Each day stretched thin between fragile hope and suffocating dread. Claire softened during that time, suddenly attentive, careful, as though trying to patch the cracks spreading between us. But the cracks were too deep, and I could see the glue wouldn't hold. The results arrived in a plain envelope on a Tuesday. It felt heavy, dangerous, like holding a bomb. Alone in the living room, the ticking of the clock deafening, I tore it open. Non-paternity confirmed. The words blurred as my vision swam. The child wasn't mine. Even after admitting to a mistake, she had clung to the lie, begging me to carry her facade with her. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I let the knowledge settle, hardening into resolve. I called a lawyer. I gathered everything, the receipt, the texts, the photo of her outside that bar. I wasn't trying to ruin her, but I needed her to understand the destruction she had left behind. I needed her to feel the weight of what she had broken. When I finally left, it was quiet. She was asleep. I packed a single bag, no more. On the kitchen table, I placed the paternity results, the Liela Vita receipt, and a short note. "I deserve the truth. You chose to lie. Goodbye." I didn't sign my name. She wouldn't need me to. She would know. As I drove away, the city lights receding in my rearview mirror, there was no victory in me. No satisfaction. Only a hollow ache where love used to live. The road ahead stretched long and dark, endless. And I couldn't stop wondering if every smile I'd see from here on would carry her shadow, if every promise would sound like another lie waiting to be told.